conversations for change, because the world is ready. As we step into this new moon, which comes tomorrow, in the midst of July, I have been thinking about the whole question of reality creation within the context of the awakening journey. I've been traveling down this road of reality creation for 50 years, more or less, from the time I was first introduced to the Seth material in my teens, and my exploration into the nature of personal reality and how focus and attention and intention create has spanned my lifetime, with moves in and out of clear focus and distraction by life events like marriage and children and work, all weaving together in such a way that it really wasn't until I was in my late 30s that I began to step back into a deeper experiential exploration and understanding of this whole concept of reality creation, or conscious creation, as we called it then in the 90s. And I don't think, although there was talk of an awakening at that time, it was anything close to being a topic on the general radar. And through my own experience and my own lifetime, I would say the teachers that have moved me forward, first of all, Seth was huge, and the work of Jane Roberts, and practicing the exercises in all of the Seth material, which taught me exactly how I create and that I do. And then, to a lesser degree, the work of Abraham Hicks, which I found repetitive at some point, simply because it didn't seem to me to go beyond a place where I needed to go in order to really step into that material and change my own life experience. It gave me some good tools for practice. The whole idea of picking up the stick from whichever end, those kinds of things. But it didn't give me the understanding that only comes, I think, from the lived experience of stepping into a far more active role as the observer in your own life experience. And I don't think I was ready for that until probably at least another decade later, when I began to be able to really see the way I operated in the world and not be attached to defending a position. And I think that's a pretty natural evolution of consciousness in our culture. While it's true lots of people never get there, it's also true that now a lot of people who are quite a bit younger than me are getting there, which I think is part of the evolution of what it is I'm thinking about here. And more recently, one of the other great teachers and thinkers who I have been contemplating is Vadim Zeland, who came up with the idea of reality transurfing and who talks very specifically about our knowing versus our believing or wishing or wanting, and what it means to be in the place of knowing a thing. And what I want to say about this whole process of reality creation and the journey of awakening that it seems to me that we as a species on this planet are engaged in right now is something that has been in my mind recently and which was brought to me actually a very long time ago, back in the beginning days of my journey, actually, in the late 1980s, when I took a course with a man named Michael Sun called On Course. And one of the things that he said to me personally and challenged me with was to recognize that at that moment in my life, I was, as he put it, playing a game I had never played before. And it gave me a whole new way of contemplating, considering, and digesting and thinking about what was in front of me and where I was and what I wanted to accomplish. And it also gave me a freedom that I had not experienced until the time that he said it to me. And I think it's very relevant now because I hear people making all kinds of proclamations or assumptions or opinions about where we are, what is happening, and where we are going in the world right now. And you can take that as far and wide as you'd like to. You could go all the way over to the outer mainstream perspective of the world is dying because of humans, to the other end of the spectrum of we're all about to go through a massive transformation and become angels, just to play with the idea of the extremes that are possible in front of us right now in terms of people's perspective. And what I'd like to suggest is that we really are on an awakening journey, playing a game called We've Never Done This Before. Because what I keep seeing and experiencing for myself is that in order to actually be able to be in this moment myself and comprehend what's going on around me, what I'm experiencing and what's happening, I have to keep letting go of assumptions. I have to keep stepping back into the place of being present with what is in my moment-to-moment experience and bringing myself back to the place where I go back to asking what matters right now. And I do believe we are on an awakening journey as a species. And I do believe we have the capacity to transform everything about the way this world operates right now and move into an amazing, brilliant, loving, compassionate, connected, uplifting, life-affirming future. I am totally convinced of it, and I am dedicated to it. And what that means for me is that I have to keep continually stepping back into the witness in my own life, in my own moment-to-moment experience, and asking myself, what would love do? Who would I be if I were being the highest version of myself in this moment? How would I show up? Because I cannot transform the what isness of what has come before from the place that created that what isness in my world. And I think that's the one reason and the one calling within me that has led me consistently over the last couple of decades, over and over and over, into doing the work, into the practices and the teachings, and working on myself with other teachers, and staying open to the concept that there's somebody else out there who can give me more pieces that can help me understand, while at the same time realizing that everything I'm seeking is within me. And that seems like a paradox, but it's really not, because I am here in this world. If I weren't here, then I could say, there's nothing out here that I need. But I am here. And so there are always things out here reflected in my world that are offering to assist me in the path I am choosing. And when I look at the tools and the resources and the great contributions that I have found made by others, whether it's David Hawkins or Seth and Jane Roberts, or even Abraham Hicks, or Lee Harris, or Pam Gregory, or any one of very many numerous people whose ideas and thoughts, Osho for that matter, have led me to think in ways that have helped me to reshape myself into who it is I am choosing with my heart of hearts to become. I see all of it as a beautiful kaleidoscope of potentiality. And I recognize that that kaleidoscope contains all these facets of all these other beings who are also on this awakening journey with us. All of the other co-creators who are helping us to find our path, which is a path of remembering. It is a game and a way that we have never played before. It's a place we have never been before. But at the same time, it is calling us back to a truth within us, each of us, that we all know. The truth of the nature of our beings as loving, connected, caring, compassionate, insightful, creative, innovative, explorers who have the capacity to transform everything because we carry within us this imaginal spark of potential. And I want to talk about it because I believe that we have, because of our long history, current, recent history of being in the space of not knowing, of limitation, and of restriction, we can move into a place where we feel so limited that we don't see what's possible. And I want to remind myself and all of us that the name of this game is, we've never been here before. And what we have the capacity to do is not defined yet. It's not known by us or anybody else. And that is our power. That, in fact, is our superpower, because we can allow ourselves to imagine as big and bold and deep and wide and transformational as we choose. But we have to give ourselves permission to choose it. We have to step out of the box of predictive old patterns which tell us that we are not worthy, that we are not trustworthy, that as humans we are the destroyers. All of these myths and stories which have been told to us as a way to limit our creative potential have to be let go of. We have to actually step into the place where we reach for and embrace our own divine nature. And for most of us, just the idea of that in the first place, when we first encounter it, seems almost sacrilegious, almost blasphemous. But that's our old teaching. That's our old programming. That's the old guilt-ridden past that it's now our opportunity to let go of as we step into the personal choice of becoming the embodiment of the witness, of the one who chooses what love would do, of the one who expands and extends the art of forgiveness not only to those people in front of us, but to the one in the mirror. Because until we can do that, we do not develop the eyes to see what is possible. We do not expand our reach and our heart and our capacity until we stop shrinking from a vision of loveliness, of divinity, and of joyous creative intent and expansion for ourselves. That is the art of stepping into the place where we recognize that our focus and our intent and our very way of being is what we have to offer and what we bring to the world. But we can't get there until we can stand in innocence and forgiveness with ourselves. And part of how we get there and be able to do that is by allowing ourselves to realize, to come into the realization that this is a game or a place or a time, whichever way you want to think of it, where we have never been. And we can tell because all of the cycles that have gotten us to here are showing us that where we are going is not known. It doesn't mean it's not known by the heart. What it means is it cannot be known by the mind and the being until we pass through it. Because it is our creation that is bringing it forth. I am so grateful that I am here during this time. For all of the times that went before that led me to this moment of this understanding. For all of the confusion that led me to this clarity. And for all of the unknowing that lies in front of me as I walk through with all of us into what it is we are creating. Because I understand that it is my capacity to be here present and step into the future we are calling forth together, consciously, coherently, with a loving heart and an open mind that allows us to create what it is we are creating. But I don't want to spend any more time in conjecture because I don't need to. I don't need to conjecture and conjure to know what the future is. My job is to be here in the present and walk into it, consciously awake in the game of this awakening journey. That's where we are. If we already knew how it would turn out, it wouldn't be an awakening journey. And I think it's so important for us to remember this and to remind ourselves and each other that it's okay not to have the answers. And that indeed, anyone who claims to have the answers is depriving us of the capacity to walk through this creation as the co-creators of it. That's what we're here to do. Why would we hand off that power to somebody else simply so they could tell us ahead of time what was going to happen? It makes no sense. But it's what the fear part of us will call for and ask for when we feel incapable, unable, or insufficient to the task. But we are not insufficient to the task. Every day our hearts are getting bigger. Every day our vision is getting clearer. Every day we are expanding our abilities to see, be, and have the connections that bring what it is we are on the path toward to us. That is the power of where we are. We are co-creative consciousness in physical bodies, calling forth the world we long to see. And to the degree we are willing to stay awake, stay conscious, stay loving, and allow ourselves permission, we will call it forth. And to the degree that we step back, doubt, move to fear, and ask somebody else to tell us what is happening, we will abdicate the creative responsibility we came here to exercise. And there is not one person here who is not a part of that equation. There is not one person here who does not have the power and capacity to step into that, no matter what anybody else says, no matter what anybody else's opinion is of it. We are all here in the capacity of co-creators of this new evolution of humanity. It's a place we've never been before, so we don't know what it will look like. And that's okay, because we can feel the guidance within us when we tune into our own hearts and do what our hearts are calling us to do. And to the degree that we are willing and able to do that, we move faster through all of the chaos that takes us to the other side of this grand experiment. And we have so many cheerleaders and so much support. We simply have to give ourselves permission and love ourselves enough to become part of the solution, rather than looking out and asking somebody else to tell us where we're going. We each get that understanding in the perfect moment of our own experience. And when we get it, the only thing we're being asked to do is follow it. And we all know how to do that without anybody else telling us anything. That's worth remembering. It's worth remembering when we find ourselves thinking it's our job to tell somebody else what they should be doing. Then it's particularly worth remembering. Then we get to step back and ask ourselves again, what would love do? What would a coherent heart in the present moment do, hold, be? One thing it would not be doing is telling anybody else what they should be doing. That's for sure.